Hello there. Doing another video today, this time on the importance of exercise in your life overall. So, why is it a good idea to establish some kind of exercise routine, or try and make sure that it's a priority, that you have it in your life? So obviously the health benefits, sort of thing everyone goes on about all the time. So there's being physically stronger, to be able to interact with things, move stuff around, faster, more able, having good cardiovascular health, so you don't get out of breath as easily. You can, you don't have heart problems or anything like that. You can go through life without as many aches and pains as well. Even though, training can cause you to feel sort of tired or sore in some ways, it's not as bad as when you don't train and you get similar sort of aches and pains as a result of being unfit. There's loads of health benefits. People go on about it all the time. I'm sure you're already aware of most of the general health benefits of improving your fitness through exercise, like a regular exercise plan. Offsetting, exercise can help you to reduce your body fat percentage or keep it in a good healthy range. That's more on the diet side, but a lot of it is also, you help when you exercise, you improve your metabolism, you burn calories, you do all sorts of things to help to keep you in a stable, good state in terms of body fat percentage. I think a vast majority of modern health problems are actually a direct result of things like obesity these days. So a lot of the reason why a lot of health services are kind of overloaded is because it's an obesity epidemic basically, and that causes a lot of side effect problems. It's very it's bad for you in the same sort of way that smoking is. So smoking, a lot of the reason people don't quit until they've got cancer or something, which is obviously way too late, is because with something like smoking, the cost, the negative effects kind of delayed until much later on in life. It's not, you kind of build it up and up, thinking that it's okay, nothing's happened yet, and then eventually it all kind of gets cashed in into it's really bad towards the end. And obesity is very similar, where it kind of causes more problems much further down the line, so you don't think it's as big of an issue, or you think you've kind of gotten away with it for this length of time, and it kind of all just crashes down on you at once. And you've got this, you might awaken some kind of desire to get fit and lose the weight, but it's kind of mostly too late by that point. You can still, there's a bit more room for forgiveness in terms of getting yourself down to a healthy weight range if you really get on top of it. But it's, like I say, it's very similar to that, where it gets all the negative sides more later on, and you don't realize it until it's too late. So tackling it early, making sure you don't get to that kind of stage, or if you already are kind of, especially if you're young and you're quite bad, you really want to try and get on top of it before it becomes even worse. And then there's psychological benefits to exercising regularly. There's, chemical wise, like brain chemistry, it's really good. You get endorphins from doing the exercise, and just in general having that routine, being consistent and noticing the improvements in your fitness. It's really good for your psychology and your sort of mental health, I suppose, giving you that sense of achievement doing things. And that's, like I said in previous video, that kaizen, that state of being in continuous improvement, it's one of the best ways to have a physical sort of aspect of that kaizen through in your life, that continuous steady progress and getting better and better. So really, obviously really good for your sort of mental state, especially if you struggle with that for whatever reason. It can really help you with that as well. What I would recommend personally in terms of what type, because there's loads of different ways you can do it, if you're not a fan of exercise, if you're one of these people that really just hates it for whatever reason, the best way might be to get in through a sport of some kind. Now, you might not be sporty either, but there's bound to be some kind of activity, physical activity, that you can find enjoyment in, whether it be martial arts or some kind of classic sport, maybe tennis, badminton, or like you can do solo sports or team sports. You might be more of a team player. You might want to play like football or rugby, something that's in a team, in a group, or you might want something more solo, like I said, like tennis, badminton, those sort of solo sports. Something, you can go down. There's loads of different sports. Just watch the Olympics. You see how many different things there are. There's loads of stuff you can do. BMXing or fencing, anything like that. There's bound to be something that you can find some kind of fun or interest in that can get you into being active. And also you can if you can develop a sort of passion for that, you can use it as motivation to sort of get better. So my motivation to do fitness training, because like most people, I don't really enjoy it, especially if it's cardio based, because it's horrible. But my motivation for doing it is through martial arts. So because I do martial arts and I understand that having good fitness is so like integral to your ability to perform the martial arts, because I could be really good at it, but if I've got really poor fitness, then I'm just going to be knackered and I'm not going to be able to actually do what I know. So because I understand that, I put a lot of effort into. I actually do way more fitness training than martial arts training, even though I'm actually like way more of a martial arts person, because it's that important. It links that much. So that's something that you could also do. You can find something that you really like and you can use it as a way to sort of motivate you to increase your fitness so that you can increase your performance in the sport. So in terms of what I feel like some of the best training methods, you've got running, mainly for cardio. Helps, it trains your legs as well. It's like an endurance capacity, but it's really good because it's a really natural movement. The human body is built and basically is evolved and designed to be able to run. It's a very human movement, and it's great for your cardio and your lung capacity. Helps train endurance in your legs. Endurance is important in your legs, because if your legs get tired, you can't stand up anymore and you're basically useless. And it's good for like sort of increasing the bone density, especially in your shins. That's quite useful as well. And then you've got weight training, classic, just resistance, just lifting. Free weights is usually one of the best because it helps to build up the sort of connective tissue as well. But you can do whatever sort of weightlifting you want. If you want to use like more machines or like cable stuff, there's loads of different ways of doing it. So weight training / resistance training, and then you've also got high intensity interval training or circuits, that sort of style. They're really good as well because they sort of attack loads of different areas, or you can design them to focus on specific areas, and they also work your cardio really well because they're very intense. So you'll get a lot of sort of lots of like best of both. You get lots of sort of cardio work and recovery stuff, but also you get good intensity on whatever exercises are in the circuit, and there's loads of room to like play around with them. So they're like three of like some of the best ways of training, I think, personally. What I do at the moment, I've kind of done loads of different things. At the moment, I'm doing like 6-day weight training stuff. At the moment, I need to try and find a way of fitting more cardio in. At the moment, I need to try and get back into like doing skipping. Skipping is a good one, but I need to try and find some ways of integrating more in, like doing some afterwards. I sometimes do some afterwards, like go on the rowing machine or on the treadmill, things like that. I need to make it more integrated because I'm noticing my cardio's kind of going down a bit and it's bothering me. So next time I like review my workout routine, which I do typically every month, I'm gonna try and find some ways to get more cardio in. But I've done loads. I've done like circuits before, and I might start doing some smaller ones again. I've done things like yoga before. That's really good for like flexibility and strength, especially in the joint connective tissue. It's good for your balance as well, depending on what sort of positions you do. And then when it comes to things like being consistent, because that's one of the most important things. Like, you can have the best routine in the world, but if you don't stick to it and do it consistently, it's as good as nothing. It's as good as a bad routine, really. So advice, what I would say for being more consistent, I would say, one, you need to like plan out and establish like a routine. So you need to like look at each day in the week and say, what day am I going to do this and what time in the day, like time blocks. One thing I've done before is get like an Excel spreadsheet, and you have like the days of the week and then each hour of the day, and you're like sort of, you can find these little hour blocks or 2 hour blocks, whatever, that you need to like fit your training in. And you can put everything else in that you do in the day, and you can sort of see where the right gaps of time are. And you just some kind of plan, routine of when you're going to go. You need to make it kind of like, you need to view it like your job in a way. Like, no one, if you just go when you want to go, or if you feel like it, you'll get into the trap that everyone goes into, where you basically like, you want to go at first, you got this high motivation, and you always go for like the first week, and then it kind of drops down, and you suddenly start thinking to yourself, oh, I'm a bit tired today, can't be bothered, I'm not going to go. And it just goes all downhill from there. You just slow down more and more, and you just stop completely. And it's so you can't rely on yourself. You have to view it like a job. You have to, because no one gets up, you wake up and you're tired and you can't be bothered, but you still don't think, oh, I'm just not gonna bother going to work today. No, you go anyway, despite how like horrible you feel, how knackered you are. You still make yourself go, and you have to view it in the same way. You have to force yourself to go. It's just, you have to view it as just something that you do. Just going to work, and don't think about the workout itself. Just think about turning up at the gym. Don't think about the workout until you're actually in there. I never look at what I'm actually going to do until I'm actually in the gym. Just think about it now. I've got to go and drive there, and then when you're there, focus on the actual workout itself. And then another thing is using, your initial motivation. You've got that like emotional drive to do something. You got to use that emotional drive to sort of get yourself, especially when you're getting started. But after a time, it has to become more habitual and less emotionally involved. So initially, you want to use some of that sort of emotional drive to get yourself set up and started. But eventually, you got to sort of take that out of the equation, make it more like routine and robotic, just something that you do regardless of how you feel, the same way that you get up and go to work, regardless of how you feel, unless you're like really ill. And then another thing is, you have to view it as like a job for life, something that you just do for the foreseeable future, not just something that you're going to do until you like lose a certain amount of weight. You got to think this is going to be, because you'll need to maintain that same standard, or you just regress again back to where you were, and that's not what you want. So you got to think it as something that's just what you do for life now. It's just like a life. It's just part of your life. It's always going to be there in some shape or form. I don't plan necessarily on doing like weight training forever. I think when I start to get like much older, and noticeably older, I'd start sort of transitioning it more into like easier things, like more, I'd put more emphasis on like yoga stuff, or like maybe I'd learn how to do Tai Chi, and rather than running, I'd do more walking, things like that. You just change as you get older, but you're still doing exercise, you still got like a routine, so it's still part of your life even when you're much older. And then, well, that's some main points I think for like being more consistent, because it's not easy. You're kind of battling yourself, you're battling your future self and your future emotional state, which will be different from your current emotional state. And then other things really useful, why exercise is so good. helps you to increase your range of motion, become more flexible. Even just doing weight training, doing these, if you do proper technique on your exercises, you'll be using a full range of motion. So it helps to build that full range of motion in your body and increases your flexibility. And then you should always like stretch off. I don't know if everyone does stretch off after they train, but you should really try to do stretches after you've trained, because it helps to relax the muscle. You see people who are like sort of muscle bound, they're really bulky, but they never stretch off, so they've not got as much range of motion. They're kind of stuck almost. Flexibility is really important. I've done videos on it before, but essentially it's kind of like a symbol of youth in a way. The more flexible you are, the better you feel, the more young you kind of feel. The less flexible you are, the sort of more stiff and old and horrible you feel. So it's definitely something you want to do. It'll make you feel loads better, even if you don't need to be flexible for like your everyday life or like your sport or anything like that. It's still really useful to have a high level of flexibility. It feels really good to not, because when your muscles are stiff, especially if it's in like the upper back area around your traps and things, that can create a lot of tension in your body, which makes you feel rubbish, gives you headaches, and psychologically it affects you a lot as well. So having good flexibility is like really useful in a often sort of underlooked area of fitness that's actually much more beneficial than you might think it is. And then finally, there's like the diet. It kind of ties in diet and exercise. You got to make sure that you kind of prioritize both. A lot of people make the mistake of doing just like one or the other when it comes to things like weight loss. Like they'll just go on like a diet where they only eat cabbage for like a month or something stupid like that. That's fad diets, they're rubbish. But like even if it's like a proper diet where you're on a calorie deficit, like you will, if you are doing it properly, you will steadily like lose a weight, but you still want to increase your fitness level as well, give you more of a functional body, increase especially your cardiovascular health, because that really helps you stay alive, because your heart's what keeps you alive, and then there's the other end where people like they just do exercise but they still like eat junk food all the time and stuff, so they still sort of stay fat, they just get like stronger. So you got to understand it's both together. You got to have both together. You got to make sure you're eating like healthy, balanced diet. It's not too hard to like look up the necessary portions. You'll see like the pie charts, like how much veg stuff, how much like carb stuff, how much like protein source, all these different things. What healthy sources of each macronutrient are. And that's basically a sort of rough summary of why important exercise is so important and how you can like sort of get into it. So yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you found it useful in some way, and I will see you in the next one.